guys, welcome to my channel. We are reading Open Book by Jessica Simpson. I really love this book. I'm learning a lot about her, and it's kind of amazing learning about an actor or, a singer. Sorry, it's been a long day. But yeah, we're on chapter 4, so I'm just going to start reading. Chapter 4, Cheerleader Blues. Cheerleader Blues. Fall, 1993. "Hey, Jessica," said a bright voice behind me. I was between classes at North Richardson Middle School, walking from 8th grade English, which I loved, to pre-algebra, which I hated. It was a Gaulian teen walk every day, so turned quickly in hope to rescue, or at least distraction. It was a blonde boy smiling with 4 other boys. They were 9th graders, and they were all cute. "Hi," I said. The blonde boy said, "You'll make more friends if you just jump up and down." "Really?" "It's a trick, but it totally works," he said. "I jumped up and down once. A short hop." No, he said. "Keep going." I did it. So more. Higher. The boys seemed memorized. "There you go," he said, smirking. A girl walked by, hissing at me. "Not them." "Ugh," she said. "They just want to see your boobs bounce." No, they laughed and knew it was true, but I laughed along with them. "You know what?" she said, sneering at me as the boys ran to class. I tried to talk to her, but she kept moving. Honestly, I'd come to trust the intentions of boys over girls after the way some girls had treated me. I had a core group of girlfriends who I loved, but they were all from youth group at church. They went to other schools, and it was like when I saw them, I was Dorothy when life turned technicolor. With boys were nicer to me because of my breast. Well, at least they were nice to me. Ugh, my breasts were so annoying to me. In 8th grade, they were already a D cup. I hated them when I started developing in the 5th grade. As they were growing, I started wearing baggier and baggier t-shirts, thinking I could hide them because no one else had them. By the end of 5th grade, I was a B cup, but I thought I had mastered magician-level skills of sleight of hands, crossing my arms over my chest and constantly pulling at my shirt. I didn't like how they made older kids and men look at me differently, but they also just made me feel like I was getting fat. I couldn't wear what other kids wore. My daughter wears a blazer uniform for school, and I just thank God that I didn't have to. I could not have pulled off that look. Finally, my mother confronted me and bought me a sports bra. She tried so hard to make me feel okay about it. "It's how God made you, and God loves you," she told me again and again. Not everyone was so nice. In 7th grade, the pastor at our church nearly grabbed my mother after I performed at the service. "Jessica can't sing in front of the church because," he paused. "You could see her breasts." "Her breasts?" "Her nipples," he said, trying not to yell for all to hear. "Well, why the hell are you looking?" my mother asked. She was always that tiger mom. She had her own resentment about putting so much into the church and not getting credit. Any slight to her family gave her a release valve of anger. "She will make men lust." "She's 13. Mom had to explain the nipple controversy and thought I'd done something wrong. I just catching the spirit of the Lord, I said. The compromise was big vests for summer and roomy blazers for winter. Anytime I sang, I had to cover myself. I got my revenge in little ways. I could intentionally laugh loud during church. Any odd things that happened, I would let it rip, and the pastor would shush me in front of 500 people. My dad hated it, but my mom would laugh too. It wasn't just my pastor. When I performed at abstinence rallies, people were especially hard on me. I would be wearing the exact same shorts and t-shirt other girls my age wore and get yelled at for dressing sexy. When I did a big Southern Baptist youth conference singing in front of nearly 20,000 people at Reunion Arena, I wore flowery Doc Martens, black leggings, a t-shirt, and a white button-up vest to be safe. My mom even put a second denim vest over me. I wanted to look exactly like Rebecca St. James, who was also on the bill. She was a huge Christian singer at the time, beloved in the same outfit. Right before I went on, the guy who was leading the music for the conference approached me and my mom. He looked at me a long time and then turned to my mom. You know that she is a, abomination to the Lord, he said quietly, deliberating, empathizing each word to maximize my shame and my mother's complicity. Excuse me? Yes, he said, pointing two meaty fingers at me. Dressing like that, people are going to look at her, and they are only going to see what she is wearing. What is she wearing? What's wrong? That's wrong, my mother asked. She was genuinely confused, and so was I. He walked away as they announced my name from the stage. I'm sorry, baby, she says. You are beautiful. I went out there, smiled, and sang my heart out for the allotted 2 songs. My heart was pounding, but it was the start of that feeling I get when I'm performing. Once I get going, I don't want to leave the stage, but sure enough, I got slammed for my outfit, even though I dressed exactly like Rebecca. I was dancing around up there, so I guess things were bouncing. Being the preacher's daughter, I was used to being looked at and held to a higher standard, but having people focus on something completely different than what I was trying to do was strange. Wait, I wanted to say, I'm singing to God right now. God's using me right now. Let Him sing through me and stop looking at the vessel. All that judgment, and it was constant, toughened me up for what would come when the crowds got bigger. I know. But then I was just 13, singing to the Lord and trying to do what He called me to do. My mom recently joked that middle school was when her life became all about covering my breasts. Their boobs definitely ruled our planet, she said. What were we going to do, tape them down? Which we did, I said. Well, that was a play Teeny Tim in 7th grade pageant. Tim wasn't so tiny, Mom. Heck no, she said proudly. That took a lot of ace bandages. At least I had my new cheerleader friends. 8th grade was my first year putting on the sleeveless green and gold striped uniform to cheer for the Vikings, and I was excited at the idea of being part of the squad. I liked wearing the uniform on game days, and I felt like I belonged, which I only truly felt at youth group. There were about 20 girls, and they were all popular. I admit that I thought they would be good to recruit to youth group. I was always helping bring people in, not just to sell it, but because I was rigid in the thought of accepting Christ would save their souls. There was a girl on the squad who I'll call Beetlejuice. I call her that because I don't want to call her by her name of someone you might know or meet in real life. What she did to me was so awful that you might tell that person off of reflex, and honestly don't want anyone to get hurt. Beetlejuice and I had sleepovers, and we could camp out in her backyard until I fall Texas air chilled at the point that we would run inside, laughing, dragging out our sleeping bags into her living room. I still had trouble sleeping, but I would bring a Tylenol PM just in case. Beetlejuice and I became like best friends, and we discussed kid stuff like teachers who we couldn't stand and boys we liked. She talked a lot about her obsession with the boy named Mark, who was our English class. If he looked at her, even to ask her to move aside to get through the door, she reviewed it with a play-by-play. We traded so many small confidence, and that we built enough trust to get to the big stuff. Beetlejuice confided something to me that rang true for me as well. She shared a secret. Someone she knew had been molested. I worried it might still be going on, so I immediately said that person should tell an adult she trusted. It happened to me, I said. I said it out loud, brave because I thought she and whoever this was needed it, and I had only ever told my parents about what happened. Really? She asked. I didn't say anything. I said it was a girl, and I let her do it for too long. I shared about the girl who had abused me. When I finished, Beetlejuice didn't hug me. My story hung there in the dark. About 2 days or so later, we were at the start of English class. We were midway through a unit on the To Kill a Mockingbird, which I read in the back of my mom's Jump for Jesus acrobats class, or sitting outside of Dad's counseling office at church. I liked the escape of reading, and it didn't feel like homework. I was in the back of the class as usual, so I could see when ahead of me some guys were talking to Mark and then looked back at me. When they caught my eye, it was like they'd hooked a fish. They pulled back full strength to reel me in. Mark loves Jessica, they chanted. They didn't deny it. He didn't deny it, and instead smiled at me. I rolled my eyes and reflexively smiled back. Then I looked over at Beetlejuice, who looked down in anger. At the bell, Beetlejuice ran out of class. Mark lingered, and I walked right past him to try to catch up with her. I didn't, but I knew we had cheer practice that afternoon. I would just clear it up then. But the girls were all whispering when I went into the gym. I took a seat on the end of the bleacher with them, waiting for the coach, and each moved over to leave 2 feet of space between me and them. We know what you did, said the girl closest to me. I don't like Mark, I said loudly to Beetlejuice, who had moved even further down the line. Of course you don't, she said. You don't even like boys. Leslie. What's Leslie? I asked. The whole squad alerted between this look of disbelief and disgust. Beetlejuice stood up. I told them what you did to me. What? I asked. How you tried to have sex with me at my house, she said, touching me and stuff. I jumped up and yelled that it wasn't true. I ran out of the gym to a payphone, and I called the church, asking them to find my mom. Beetlejuice had taken my story of abuse and told everyone on the squad that I had done this to her on the one of the sleepovers. This started some chain reaction thing where 3 other girls, and I remember their names too, then claimed that I had done the same thing to them. I'd never even been alone with some of them, let alone at their houses. But I was the town witch, and torches were going cheap. When my mom picked me up, I was blabbering mess in the car. I didn't even know how to explain what they said about me. I got home and I ran to my room. That night, our house got egged. I think my parents thought it was just a prank, but I knew. I told my parents I was sick, couldn't go to school. The next morning, Mom tried to convince me to go, but the neighbor called us and told us we better look outside at the front of the house. In the night, someone crawled, "Die, bitch," in black shoe polish, huge across our house. Home. Oh my goodness. I felt so bad for Ashley, who was 9, and so confused. Dad took the hose to it, but it wouldn't come out until he scrubbed it with something from the hardware store. From the window, I watched him work at the stain, and I felt ashamed. I had brought this to our family, and I was petrified of going back to school. If they were doing that to our house, what would they do to me? For 2 weeks, I refused to go to school. My mom tried to talk to me into going back and facing them. I thought she was naive. She called the school, and they were actually very nice to her, promising they would protect me if I came back. My absence didn't help. Someone found the stack of anti-gay flyers and threw them all over our yard. Dad started staying up to watch, but we still get egged by cars racing past. People I didn't even know were backstabbing me, tormenting our family. And I handed Beetlejuice the knife by telling her my story. Finally, my mom made me go back to face them. It was school picture day. The worst part was that my outfit was already set, my cheerleader uniform, because we were taking a team photo. There were also a basketball game that night that my squad was supposed to cheer. "We've got to do this, Jessica," she said. Later, the empathetic "we" would mean me going on stage, no matter how I felt, or doing an interview with someone when I didn't want to talk about my personal life. That "we" meant you. But this time, I took the "we" seriously and made her walk in with me. And I'm glad I did, because it was exactly the cheesy horror movie I knew it would be. Picture me walking in, and the hustle of junior high morning freeze framing to still. While people took in a big scene, they'd had 2 weeks to turn me into some creation of their darkest fears and fantasies. And here I was, a lesbian's cheerleader, holding her mommy's hand. I kept my head down, walking to my locker. I could tell from the clogged vents of my locker that it was full of junk. People had slipped garbage in, literal garbage, but also the trash of the same anti-gay pamphlets and littered our yard. The contents spilled out onto the floor, and I cried, not sure what to do with my backpack, which now seemed so pointless because clearly I could never come back there. Mom took me to the office where they assured her I would be safe. When I asked her to take me home, she looked at my uniform and reminded me that I needed to face the girls on my squad. Still, I hid most of the day in the library or the bathroom. I stood facing the bathroom mirror, running the water and washing my hands. When anybody came in to cover that, I was hiding. I smoothed the green flare skirt of my uniform again and again, trying to look perfect. I knew the pose of the photo from looking at the last year's yearbook. I practiced my smiles, placing my fists on my hips, making a 99-degree angle of my arms. "You can do this," I said in the mirror, and I shrugged. At the picture time, I smiled for my solo shot and then hung in the back when they gathered the cheerleaders for the group photo. One girl, Lisa, said, "Hi, I missed you," she whispered. It was this small beacon of kindness, a little tiny light in the distance that said to keep floating and don't sink. As they took their places, I stayed off to the side, taking the floor spot and hitting that 90-degree arm look. I stole glances at Beetlejuice, but she didn't seem able to look at me. I got through it, so I felt obligated to cheer at the night's basketball game. I didn't want to let anybody down, while at the same time I didn't feel welcome. Things started off okay, just people in the crowd staring at me during the first half. Then I saw one of the girls, one of the accusers, run over to the opposing side. I saw her whisper to the cheerleader for the other team, who then whispered to another and pointed down the line like a sick game of telephone. After a huddle, that squad had a new chant, and aiming pom-poms at me. Lesbian, lesbian. Again, I ran. My parents running after me. At home in our kitchen, I wondered if this was who I was now. I didn't understand what it was to be gay. If I was touched sexually by a girl, it didn't stop her. Did that experience make me gay for life? Did it define me even if I didn't want it to happen? I honestly didn't know if that was how it worked. Mom asked what I wanted to do, and I said she should pray for all those people who called me names. It was surprising to me, too. It just seemed like if I prayed for them, they would stop. If you forgave them, my mom said, God will forgive them too. Okay, I said. Look at the big picture, Jess, my mom said. Something she says to me on a regular basis throughout my life. Where are they going in life? Maybe because the bullying was so public and noticeable to the spectators of the basketball game, the school brought in outside counselors to talk to the kids. Dad made me go back, and the girls all ended up recanting and apologizing to me. I still quit the cheerleading team. It wasn't my dream to be a cheerleader, but what if it was? We talked about bullying as a harassment issue, but it also about limiting opportunities and potential. I had to work hard to make up for missing 2 weeks of school. I really wanted to talk about To Kill a Mockingbird. When I started high school in 10th grade, when all the junior highs were coming together, I would walk by people and hear, "That's the lesbian." By then, I was such a heavy-duty Christian recruiter that nobody could conceive I could pull off being gay. People moved on, but the scars remained. I had opened up to someone, and look what it got me. I actually know where those girls went in life. One of them became... oh my gosh. Okay, I actually know where those girls went in life. One of them became a Hooters waitress and then went on to be preacher's wife. I don't point out to be petty. I love the Hooters girl. I just really love the idea that life gave her options and she tried out both. I also really hope she met her husband at Hooters. I don't hold any ill will. When I was so sick during my pregnancy with my daughter, Birdie, I told Eric I wouldn't wish this on the worst enemy. And then I remembered I don't have any enemies, let alone the worst one. No, the people I want to focus on are Lisa, who was kind to me and went on to become successful therapist, and you. If you are being bullied, whether it's because you're gay or someone decides they don't like something about you, let me be the Lisa who says, I see you. You are perfectly made. After school, I usually went right to church where my parents always were. Dad's therapy office was right over the church gym, which might sound crazy if you've never been to a mega church. They often have a big basketball court with hoops that can be raised when they need the space for praise and worship. It was one of the reasons our church was so successful bringing in youth people. I do my homework sitting outside my dad's office as he counseled kids who were written off as troubled. Often he would talk to the whole family, including parents who would not be there if there had been some way to sweep this under the rug. Things that we are used to talking about now, they thought they were the only parents in the world dealing with. A kid who couldn't stop cutting herself. Another boy who would find alcohol like it was 24/7 job. And some kids were just written off as bad. It made me afraid of drugs, not because of what it did to the kids, but because of the faces of those parents. When they left in the office broken, it was a great way to raise me, because it was everything I did not want to be. And yet, there's always a boy, isn't there? Jason was a bad boy who became, through my father's counseling, a better person. He was a few years older than me and was on the wrestling team. He was one of the guys who used to cause trouble and then tried to do lots of good works to make up for it. Eventually, he would be my dad's intern at church. But back then, he would look after the younger boys in the youth group, playing ball with the shy ones and taking the rougher ones to things like car day, where he taught them how to care for cars and the hoops that it might be a trade for him. We started dating when I was in 8th grade, but our time together was always chaperoned. Dad would even listen on my phone calls, and my mom would scream at him to stop. I liked that he was kind to my friends with youth group, like Stefina. Before Stefina became my go-to event and intervention planner in Hollywood, she was a tomboy soccer star who never jibbed with other girls, who we bonded when she told me she dreaded the retreats and sleepovers because she felt like the girls spoke a language of makeup that she didn't understand. It's not like French, I said. You speak French? She asked. Si, I said, laughing. No, but I do speak makeup. I always did her makeup, applying MAC Spice lip liner on her and telling her about the Bath & Body Works body sprays that my cousin Sarah introduced me to. To this day, she remembers that the first time I did her makeup, I told her that she had pretty eyes, and that small compliment changed how she saw herself. It was so easy to notice things about people and tell them. I don't know why people don't just give our compliments every single day. Stephanie and I went to the weekend discipleship retreat, Firefall, in the beginning of February, and all I could talk about was what Jason and I were going to do for Valentine's Day. Do you think he's going to kiss you? She asked as I applied a light blush. I looked and I was going for some, the look I was going for was sexy but saved. Come, Heather, but leave room for the Lord. I nearly dropped the makeup brush, you think? Jessica, of course Jason is going to kiss you. Stephanie, I said, Jason is going to kiss me? We even prayed on it. I know it seems so innocent, but believe me, the first kiss was a huge deal to a girl who had already decided sex was so sacred that she was going to be a virgin on her wedding night. On Valentine's Day, my parents agreed to let Jason have dinner at my house. With my parents, of course, the plan was that I was going to cook for him. My mom suggested that we make this peppermint ice cream pie we'd never made before. I was thinking brownies, I said. Let's try this, she said. I went ahead to just let her do it. I am not a cook now. So I was definitely not a cook then. Dad was very anxious, and once Jason came over, the whole dinner was weird. He was like so into the peppermint ice cream pie, and my mom put extra peppermints at the table. I stared at Jason, who was just chewing on all the peppermint candies and seeming so nervous. At the end, my mother started yawning in this very fake way, telling my dad it was time to go to bed. I walked Jason to the front door, and he sort of ushered me outside under the porch light. The temperature was in the 50s, but we were both shivering. Jessica, he said, and then he didn't finish the sentence. He kissed me, and I had all those thoughts going through my head. The main one was, I love him, but there was also this weird feeling that everyone but me knew this was going to happen. But it felt good. I wanted to do it again. He went to his car, looking back like he wanted to kiss me again, too, but didn't dare. I ran inside to tell my parents what they already knew. They were actually pretending to be asleep. I turned on the light. I had my first kiss, I said. My mom tried to pretend to be shocked at the admission, but all the fake yawning had exhausted her acting abilities. You knew that was going to happen, I said. All the peppermints. oh my gosh. Okay. My dad told me Jason had asked permission to kiss me the week before. I told him it was just for tonight, he said. Just tonight, I asked. Just tonight, he answered as my mom rolled her eyes. I went to the bathroom to see if I looked different. I turned my face to the mirror to see what Jason saw. I leaned forward and kissed my own reflection. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. I love that part. Oh my gosh, it ends with a good thing. Wow. That's the end of chapter 4, guys. I will see you guys in chapter 5. And that chapter 5 is named Against All Discouragement. So, I will see you guys in that chapter. Thank you for listening, guys.